Vigilante Dad, the story of a Mississauga father who did what police did not. Find the driver who allegedly hit his son. We have his story and a live response from police.
Will cash grab or a lifesaver? The debate over speed cameras continues, and we're going to hear from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario live this hour.
And the changing response to HIV/AIDS. The AIDS Committee of Toronto is set to close after 4 decades. We'll tell you why.
This is Live at 5.
Hello, I'm Sija Liu.
I'm Bakari Savage. Welcome to Live at 5. A Mississauga father whose son was hit by a vehicle says that he's frustrated with the police response. This is after he says that he personally tracked down the driver responsible.
Saeed Syed shared footage with CP24 showing his 13-year-old son being struck at the intersection of 10th Line West and Perennial Drive near Eglinton while he walked to school on Monday. We've chosen not to show the moment of impact. The driver then slowly pulls away from the scene. Fortunately, Syed's son was only left with minor injuries.
And speaking to CP24 about the incident, Syed says that he had to walk door to door himself to get footage of the incident after speaking to police several times.
As soon as the person opened the collision center record, I explained him the story. He said, "We cannot register anything. You don't have a plate." I said, "How come? I've been talking to you people since morning. I've been on multiple calls. And then the final person told me that the collision center would help you. And she did not. And then they talked to each other in their own terminologies. They pulled me to another window and some other police officer called some other line. They kept me hold for another half an hour. They came back to me and they said, okay, this person will call you back. That person called me and said, okay, we'll come to your home and then we'll take all your statement. I waited the entire day. Nothing happened.
Peel police say the collision is under investigation. And for more on this, we are joined live by Constable Tyler Bell Morena. Constable Morena, thanks so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Well, first off, the father says he did go to police, but there was a stall when it comes to the response. What can you tell us about this delay?
Yeah, so, certainly there was a delay in this case. There's no beating around the bush on that. In terms of the communication early on with the Collision Reporting Center, I can't really speak to that. For the most part, while they're affiliated to us, they do operate semi-independently. This isn't a call that's appropriate for a Collision Reporting Center. It absolutely should be a police response here. And unfortunately, in this circumstance, what wasn't really made clear here is that this was reported to us after the fact, sometime after the fact, when the individual was no longer on scene. And when we prioritize our calls, not because this isn't a priority, of course, anytime a child's hurt, it's a priority for police. We have to assign triage priority calls in our ways to respond to it in a timely manner. This case being that this happened after the fact, there was no individual present. There were no injuries reported. An ambulance was declined. It was generated as a call for police response. However, it was assigned a lower priority response so that officers responding in the area to 911 in progress emergencies can do so, and will always get to it.
Constable Bell, we know that every situation is different, but, let's take this opportunity as a learning opportunity, go over some best practices here. What should have been done to get a faster response or a more immediate response from police? And then also, the father did go around door to door. There was a statement from Peel Police released about, confronting individuals can put you at risk. Can you talk about both of those, please?
Certainly. Let's start with the father going door to door. Listen, I can't fault him for that. If someone had hit my child, I'd be out for blood and I'd want to find them too. And I certainly can't be in a position to condone or condemn someone taking those things into their own hands. It would be remiss of me not to mention that doing so can put you in harm's way. Just like police officers knocking on doors, we don't ever know, truthfully, what's going to go on behind that door and in that confrontation. And so you'll always hear us tell people not to take certain things into their own hands. This is what the police will do. And we would have done that. He beat us to the punch, and there was a delay there, and it's unfortunate. It's certainly not what we want to see happen. But in this case, ultimately it helped the investigation because he found the individual, and we were able to do so, much faster thanks to his efforts. Not to say it wouldn't have been done. He chose to take matters into his hands.
And Constable, for similar situations in the future where there's a crime, someone reports it to police, they feel like officials aren't moving fast enough, what should they do?
Well, I think it's important to understand that wait times like this are exceedingly rare. Otherwise, we would be talking about it all the time. When calls are triaged and assigned a priority response, many circumstances can create a delay. In this case, particularly in 11 Division, a very, very busy operational division for us here in Peel Region, over that 24-hour period, we saw a higher than normal call volume of high priority calls, whether it be major collisions, whether it be domestic disturbances, mental health calls, or in progress break and enters. These are all things that the public expects us to respond to first, and that's what we do. And the second we have resources available, we get to the non-emergency, non-in-progress calls. In this particular case, what I would have liked to have seen happen is it be reported immediately, whether it be the driver calling into the police saying, I was just involved in a minor collision with a child, I'd like an ambulance to come by and police to come by. Or in this case, the child going to the nearest adult and saying, this just happened, and I need you to at least call my parents. What we don't want to see happen is exceeded delays in this case. I don't fault the father at all one bit. He did everything I think that I would do without the benefit of hindsight here. I would have liked to see him call police immediately and not have a delay here.
And Constable Bell, as we wrap up, what would you like to say directly to Mr. Saeed, the father?
You know what? If I would like to have seen everything here transpire differently, and I'd certainly like to have a further conversation with him to understand where the breakdown in communication happened so that we can do better as a police service and inform the public better. And at the end of the day, our commitment to Mr. Saeed and to anyone is that we are going to follow through with any investigation thoroughly, and we'll absolutely keep in contact with him and make sure that he's made aware of all of the steps that have been taken and the outcome of the investigation that's currently ongoing.
Constable Tyler Bell Morena with Peel Police, thanks so much for chatting with us today. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
My pleasure, as always.
Well, a 21-year-old man and a 16-year-old boy, they've been arrested in a home invasion and carjackings happened in Bowmanville. Durham police, they've released the chilling 911 call along with surveillance video from the incident.
What's the emergency?
He's broken in and got a knife. He's got a knife. He's in the garage.
Do you know who he is?
In the 911 call from Wednesday night, you can hear a man tell the operator that there is a suspect with a knife in his garage. Surveillance video shows a suspect rolling under the garage door as it closes. Police say the suspect chased a woman with a knife and then chased her husband when he rushed to her aid. Police say the couple was able to get in their home, but then the suspect tried to push the door open. Eventually, he gave up and drove off in a stolen Mercedes G-Wagon.
Well, a police helicopter was able to track the stolen vehicle and a getaway vehicle being driven by a second suspect. This was on the 401. And police followed them to a commercial parking lot in the area of McNichol Avenue and Mogul Drive. This is in North York, where the second suspect got into the G-Wagon. Well, police officers on the ground, they then moved in and they were able to box in the stolen vehicle just as it was leaving the parking lot. Both suspects are from Toronto and they face several charges.
A house on Adelaide has been badly damaged by a fire.
Chopper 24 was over the scene. This is near Strawn. Toronto Fire says that the fire started on the balcony just before 2 o'clock this afternoon before the flames spread inside. No injuries are reported.
It's 5:09. Let's check in on the commutes with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa Nsihabwa. Adjoa, it's a beautiful Friday. I bet people are rushing to get home.
They are. The weather is great, but the drive, not so much, CJ. Still watching a couple of problems and watching issues get a little bit worse on the northbound 427. This is north of Rathburn in the collectors. It is the two left lanes that are blocked because of this collision, because fire just arrived on scene. So if you're making your way on the northbound side, it is very slow. We're talking both core and collectors from as far back as Dundas. And then up on the 401. This is the eastbound 401 exit ramp that takes you to Whites Road. The right lane of that ramp is blocked following a collision on the 401 traveling east. We had some problems westbound 401 in the collectors at Kiel. We were dealing with a collision. It was in the left lane. It just cleared away, but still problems to deal with on the westbound of 401. This is right at the 407 collision involving a transport. Right lane and shoulder remains off limits. If you're traveling towards city streets, it looks like we're dealing with a brand new collision blocking lanes on Weston and Finch. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
The province is modifying parking rules outside of childcare centers. This is after this week's deadly crash at a facility in Richmond Hill.
Education Minister Paul Calandra announced the province would be modifying parking rules to prevent the use of spaces immediately next to classrooms or playgrounds at childcare facilities, with the exception of accessible spots. It comes after an SUV drove through the window of a daycare near Yonge and Nottingham Drive on Wednesday. An 18-month-old boy was struck and killed, while 6 other kids and 3 staff were hurt. A 70-year-old man is facing dangerous driving charges.
And the association representing Ontario's municipalities is urging Premier Doug Ford to reconsider his plan to get rid of automated speed cameras, saying that it'll put pedestrians at risk.
The Association of Municipalities of Ontario sent a letter to Ford this week saying there is real evidence the cameras improve road safety.
Right now, we're joined live by Robin Jones, the president of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the mayor of Westport. Thank you very much for joining us. So first off, why send this letter?
So a couple of reasons to get to the Premier as quickly as possible, our concerns and our position in relation to speed cameras.
And you mentioned that there is real evidence here when it comes to speed cameras helping out road safety. Can you share some of those stats you have with us?
For sure. And when we remember that as mayors, one of the biggest complaints we get is about speeders. The Sick Kids and the Toronto Metropolitan University released a study that they did this July 2025. And they report that the number of speeding vehicles is reduced by 45%. And they did a broad study. They did it across 250 urban school zones. Before cameras came into being, that would, first of all, speeding limits in school zones have always been 40 kilometers per hour, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And in order to prevent people from speeding through them in the past, you know what that's requiring: a police officer fully trained in a marked car. So when the government brought forward this legislation in 2019, many municipalities felt that it was a way of increasing the safety in both community safety zones and around schools.
Okay, so recently these speed cameras, they've been cut down about 17 different times. There's clear disdain for them. How do we balance safety with, public backlash for this? Is there an alternative?
So I'm sorry, how many times did you say they've been
17.
cut down? 17. So this is really a challenge for the police force of jurisdiction, and I suspect we're talking about Toronto here. It's an enforcement issue for them that I'd like to not just step on their toes. That's their challenge to find their way forward.
Now, the Premier has called speed cameras cash grabs, and his suggestion is, big, huge signs and flashing lights. Those would be better alternatives when it comes to deterring speed. Do you feel like that is a solution?
So I think the flashing, I think that the people who know more than I do about obstructions on roadways and traffic safety, I'd like to hear what they have to say and weigh in. For many years, flashing lights, if you think of the types of flashing lights that police cruisers have had and how that has evolved over the years, because sometimes they're ineffective, sometimes they're a distraction on the side of the road. So I'm not sure. I'd be happy to look into it more. Emil would look into it more with the Premier. But just on the question that you've asked me, I'm not absolutely certain that would be as effective as really what is happening in relation to the speed cameras.
Okay. Robin Jones, the president of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and the mayor of Westport. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's 5:14, 21 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Food, art, Ukrainian culture. It's happening right now in Bloor West Village for this year's Toronto Ukrainian Festival. We're going to take a look at what else is happening this weekend coming up. A Toronto organization that describes itself as Canada's oldest HIV service agency says that it's going to close next year.
And for more on this, let's go live to CP24's Arda Zakarian, who is outside the 519 Village. Arda, this seems like a very bittersweet day.
It definitely is. That's how the executive director of ACT AIDS Committee of Toronto described this closing after 42 years of serving the community. A group of volunteers came together in 1989 with a need of serving this community, people who were dying of AIDS, killing mostly people in the gay community. And they brought together not only treatment and prevention plans, but also fought the stigma of AIDS together. Now that it's closing, some people say it's leaving a big gap.
This is really going to be, a huge gap to fill. As I said, they're very low barrier. They're also discreet, location. They're very accessible. So it's going to definitely be a huge challenge to the communities.
So you're going to see a lot of people that I feel like are going to be ill-informed. ACT is like a huge beacon when it comes to HIV. So that's where a lot of people would go. And I think some of the other places are a little less known.
ACT began with the hope that sometime in the future it won't be needed anymore. That's not the case right now because AIDS still does exist and people need these kinds of services. But we're getting closer, and there is so much medication out there, advancements in medication, prevention of this as well. And even the memorial that's at the Barbara Hall Park behind me, there's an AIDS memorial there in 1987, 1988, 1989. There are 7 plaques filled with names of people that we've lost from HIV or AIDS. But in 2025, 4 names are there right now. So we have had major advancements, but this kind of service in the community is definitely still needed, according to some of the people I spoke with. And the executive director did say that they do have community partners who they're hoping would carry on their torch in some capacity. Back to you.
Fill the gap there. Arda Zakarian reporting live from the Village. Thanks so much. Well, it's a beautiful day outside, and a big crowd is expected to converge on the Bloor West Village this weekend for the annual Toronto Ukrainian Festival.
And this is where we find CP24's Melissa Duggan with what you need to know about this festival and also just getting around on transit this weekend. Melissa, good evening.
Hey, Bakari. Hey, CJ. Listen, if you don't have any plans this weekend, there is a very long list of stuff you could do. So I'm going to help you make those weekend plans right now. One major event happening right now, and is happening all weekend long. It's billed as North America's biggest Ukrainian festival, happening in Bloor West Village from Jane Street, which is that way, to just east of Runnymede, which is that way. It's happening tonight, Saturday, and Sunday. You could already see a very busy place. Tomorrow, one of the highlights is the parade, and Kelly's going to be taking part in that. What could we expect tomorrow, Kelly?
Hi, Melissa. So tomorrow you're going to expect a beautiful parade that they have, and it's every year. This is their 29th year festival, and this is my 22 year participating. I work over there at Viscas Salon right in front of them. So the spirit of the Ukraine community and the festival is just spectacular. And what we love most about them is that they're inclusive. They welcome to everybody. We have walked in the parade as Better Futures for Kids Foundation and Outside Canada, advocating against human trafficking and child exploitation that's happening in our city. And especially now with the war going on in Ukraine, that's happening even more. And it's a very hideous crime against humanity, especially women and children. So my group, Better Future for Kids and Outside Canada, we're walking in the parade proud as the Vietnamese community, but supporting the Ukraine festival and the Ukraine community.
And, it's definitely something to note that Ukraine is under attack right now, and that so many people coming to this festival as well are from Ukraine. This is their way to connect with their culture and be part of a group of people supporting them. I wonder if we check out the parade tomorrow, what are some of the highlights we could look forward to?
Well, you're going to see at least 40 groups. We're the number 22, number 20. So it's going to start from High Park. They're going to walk all the way at least 3 kilometers from High Park to here. You're going to see music, march, and bands and different groups in the community, including us. And people are going to stand like, you're expecting like a few 100,000 along the side. So every year when we go, they're like, go guys, thank you for what you do. So it's a really nice environment that they give us. And that's why we come back every year.
And food is such a special part of this festival too. What are you going to be eating this weekend?
Well, for sure pierogies. And they have delicious barbecue chickens. So you have to come. Like, I don't want to spoil the fun. You gotta come down, experience it. Even if you hear us sharing it over TV, it's not the same as being here live. Okay. And come down and support Ukraine and support our community.
Well, you are a wonderful ambassador for this event. Thank you so much for that, Kelly. I really appreciate it. Other events happening this weekend as well run the gamut from Lady Gaga playing tomorrow night at Scotiabank Arena to the Blue Jays playing a 3-game series against the Orioles. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that there was a big disturbance to GO train service. That's along Lakeshore, the Lakeshore West line, something to keep in mind all weekend long. A big disruption there, and that is going to see a no service along the Lakeshore West line between Oakville and Exhibition GO stations on both Saturday and Sunday. There will be some replacement buses also running. You can check out our website, CP24.com. We've got all that information and lots more, including on the Ukrainian festival that is just getting underway right now. Back to you.
Oh, she had me at pierogies and barbecue chicken. Sounds so good. Thanks so much, Melissa. It's 5:23, 21 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Police have a 22-year-old suspect in custody in the fatal shooting of right-wing activist Charlie Kirk. We're going to have the latest on the assassination investigation. A man's been arrested in the murder of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in Utah.
Mugshots have been released of 22-year-old Tyler Robinson. He is facing several charges, including aggravated murder in Kirk's killing on Wednesday at the university campus south of Salt Lake City.
And announcing the arrest, authorities said Robinson held deep disdain for the conservative activist's provocative viewpoints. Utah's governor cited engravings on bullet casings found in the rifle that authorities believe was used in the attack, as well as the chat app messages attributed to the suspect that a roommate shared with law enforcement.
Investigators interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had.
Kirk was a polarizing figure in American politics. He was a staunch supporter of U.S. President Donald Trump and expressed strong conservative views, and some considered controversial. He was also known for debating his views directly with people who oppose them. Trump has said he will be awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
It's 5:26, 21 degrees. This is Live at 5.
The province is modifying parking rules outside childcare centers after this week's deadly crash at a daycare facility in Richmond Hill. We'll have details and reaction next.
Vigilante Dad, the story of a Mississauga father who did what police did not find the driver who allegedly hit his son. We have his story and the response we just got from police.
A cash grab or a lifesaver? The debate over speed cameras continues, and we hear from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, their response to this.
Well, the change in response to HIV/AIDS, the AIDS Committee of Toronto is set to close after 4 decades.
Food, art, Ukrainian culture. It's happening right now in Bloor West Village for this year's Toronto Ukrainian Festival. Here's a live look at the area this hour, and we'll be taking a look at all the fun things happening this weekend.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Sija Liu. Welcome to Live at 5. The province is modifying parking rules outside childcare centers after this week's deadly crash at a facility in Richmond Hill.
Education Minister Paul Calandra announced the province would be modifying parking rules to prevent the use of spaces immediately next to classrooms or playgrounds at childcare facilities, with the exception of accessible spots. It comes after an SUV drove through the window of a daycare near Yonge and Nottingham Drive on Wednesday. An 18-month-old boy was hit and killed, while 6 other kids and 3 staff were hurt. A 70-year-old man faces dangerous driving charges.
And for more reaction to this, we are joined live by Amy O'Neill, director of Treetop Children's Center. Amy, thanks so much for being here with us. Now, a lot of parents that we have been speaking to are saying, how can this be prevented? And the education minister says he's going to make some changes, especially when it comes to those parking spaces right next to daycare centers. He wants those blocked off. What do you make of this announcement?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that my heart goes out to the children, families, and educators that have been affected by this horrible tragedy. My first response is that I think that the measures would be a good idea, but that we need to look at various settings because some childcare centers are standalone, some are located in schools. And it could be problematic for those of us that are located in school boards to start installing bollards, and very expensive.
Okay, along with that, Amy, would you say, this is seen as reactive or proactive?
I think it's a reactive approach. I think the key issue here, though, is safety, and we all want children to be safe. We send our children to childcare because we want them to be safe and taken care of and have their early learning development needs met. But at the same time, childcare is very costly. And to run a high quality program, you need adequate funding. And I'd like to ask whether this legislation will include full funding to implement these measures, because if not, then it will be very challenging for childcare operators to effectively meet these new standards.
Yeah, and touching more on that funding aspect, right? It's still unclear who's going to pay for these bollards and planters in front of these centers. What would you like to see happen?
So what I'd like to see happen is that the provincial government fully fund the implementation of these new measures, because if they take it away, particularly for those of us in the $10 a day childcare program, that funding will be taken away from the care and the needs of the children and will reduce quality. So we need to see this government make sure that they fully fund the implementation of this new policy.
Is this something that's been discussed before?
It has, and in fact, it's been brought up at several operator groups in the past. And we've asked, however, some of us have asked for additional safety measures. However, there are zoning and bylaw restrictions, particularly in the GTA, that have prevented some of us from installing these new measures due to the regulations.
And the education minister also says he wants to work with childcare centers to identify any other safety gaps. Is there anything you can think of off the top of your head that needs to be addressed when it comes to safety?
Well, I think that all stakeholders need to be consulted on this new policy because we're all very different in terms of locations, settings, sites, rural versus urban. I mean, we all have different needs and different challenges. And so I think it's very important that stakeholders in the early learning and childcare sector are consulted.
Is there a different answer you'd like to see that you think could be better?
I'm not sure that anything can really prevent tragedies from occurring. I think legislation after a tragic incident can be a little bit challenging because everyone in the community is mourning, and to put in place a new policy without consultation is very challenging.
Yeah, understood. Well, Amy O'Neill, director of Treetop Children's Center, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
The association representing Ontario's municipalities is urging Premier Doug Ford to reconsider his plan to get rid of automated speed cameras, saying that it'll put pedestrians at risk.
And the Association of Municipalities of Ontario sent a letter to Ford this week saying there is real evidence the cameras improve road safety. It included a study from Sick Kids in Toronto Metropolitan University that found they reduced speeding by 45% in Toronto. Ford described them as a cash grab earlier this week after 16 were cut down across the city.
A Mississauga father whose son was struck by a vehicle says that he's frustrated with the police response after he says that he personally tracked down the driver responsible.
Syed shared footage with CP24 showing his 13-year-old son being hit at the intersection of 10th Line West and Perennial Drive near Eglinton while he was walking to school on Monday. Now, we've chosen not to show the moment of the impact, but the driver then slowly pulls away from the scene. Fortunately, Syed's son was only left with minor injuries.
And speaking to CP24 about the incident, Syed says that his family is still shaken up following the incident.
How I'm feeling, my whole house is traumatized. My wife and me, we are not talking since 3-4 days. We have nothing to share or nothing to talk about. All we is think about our son accident. Every morning the routine has been changed. No one is leaving the house alone. I make sure I hold the hand of my kids very tight while crossing the road. Even if the pedestrian walk is my right of way, I make sure all around there is no car approaching us.
Peel police say the collision is now under investigation. Meantime, a 21-year-old man and 16-year-old boy have been arrested in a home invasion and carjacking in Bowmanville, and Durham police have released the chilling 911 call and surveillance video from the incident.
What's the emergency?
He's broken in and I've got a knife. He's got a knife. He's in the garage.
Do you know who he is?
And the 911 call, this is from Wednesday night. You can hear a man tell the operator that there's a suspect with a knife in his garage. Surveillance video shows the suspect rolling under the garage door as it closes. Police say that the suspect chased a woman with a knife and then chased her husband when he rushed to her aid. And police say that the couple was able to get in their home, but then the suspect tried to push the door open. Well, eventually he gave up and drove off in a stolen Mercedes G-Wagon.
A police helicopter was able to track down that stolen G-Wagon, and a getaway vehicle being driven by a second suspect on the 401. Police followed them to a commercial parking lot in the area of McNichol Avenue and Mogul Drive in North York, where the second suspect got into the G-Wagon. Police officers on the ground then moved in and were able to box in the stolen vehicle as it was leaving the parking lot. Both suspects are from Toronto and face several charges.
Well, a house on Adelaide has been badly damaged by a fire.
Chopper 24 was over the scene near Strawn. Toronto Fire says it started on the balcony just before 2 o'clock this afternoon before the flames spread inside. Fortunately, though, no one was hurt.
It's 5:40, 21 degrees. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24 traffic specialist Adjoa and Tia Bois.
Yeah, Bakari, watching problems where a vehicle went into the ditch this hour on the westbound 401 ramp that takes you to the northbound 410. So looks like it's the collector ramp, and that vehicle, when this truck moves, you'll see it, ended up in the ditch. Another vehicle involved, and it is the right lane of that ramp that is blocked, but at least you got that left lane squeezing by. Now, finally, I can say it, 401 is collision-free, at least at this hour. And if you're traveling further east into Durham, just dealing with volume delays, but no longer any issues to pass along. I'll keep the good news rolling. Well, not so good anymore. So northbound 427, just north of Rathburn. This collision, which remained, was all off to the side, but an MTO crew's on scene again, and they're blocking the left lane. And if you're using the Gardner, slow go as you make your way into and out of the downtown core, but at least no live lane issues. I'll send it back to you both.
Thanks so much, Adjoa. It's 5:41, 21 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And up next, Bonnie Crombie stopped by CP24 today. This is ahead of a leadership vote at the Ontario Liberal Party's annual general meeting. It's happening in Toronto this weekend.
A Toronto organization that describes itself as Canada's oldest HIV service agency says it's going to close down next year.
Okay, right now, let's go live to CP24's Arta Zakarian, who's in the village. Arta.
And Bakari and Sija, this organization has been serving the community for 42 years. In 1989, a group of volunteers came together to support those that are going through AIDS. At that time, it was an unknown virus that was killing predominantly gay men, and they came together not only to provide medical support, but also to, because of the fear and the stigma that also came along with AIDS. As I said, a lot of people didn't know much about it then. Of course, we know a lot more now, and with knowing a lot more, medications have been updated, and there's been lots of treatment and prevention plans as well. Even the memorial that's behind me in Barbara Hall Park, that's dwindled. So we have in 1988, 1989, 1990, 7 plaques worth of names on there, hundreds of names. And then when we come to 2025, 4 names. So not only has the need decreased, but also financially, there's not a lot of financial funding. It's difficult to get any donations and support. The government doesn't cover their costs either. So they need to, it's been difficult for them to figure out how to continue financially, especially when they've been operating with a deficit for many, many years. Now, even with all of this, we know it leaves a big hole in the community. Here's more from Member of Provincial Parliament, Peter Tabbins.
HIV hasn't disappeared. I mean, there's still transmission. The cost of the treatments are very high. I think we need actually to be putting the money in place so people can get treatment so we don't have more spread of the disease. So I don't think their work is done yet, frankly. What they've done is amazing, but there should be support for them and people like them so that HIV doesn't re-expand and cause all kinds of misery.
And in 1983, when ACT, AIDS Committee of Toronto, came together, they had the hope that one day they wouldn't be needed. We're not quite there yet, but getting closer to that goal. Now, the ACT's executive director has said that many of the services will be passed on to some of their community partners, but in what scope, that's yet to be determined. Back to you.
There's a Carrion reporting live from the Village. Thanks so much. Members of the Ontario Liberal Party are in Toronto this weekend to vote on the future of Bonnie Croney's leadership.
Yeah, the Liberals' annual general meeting is taking place at the Sheraton Centre. This is happening today through Sunday. The party won 14 seats in the provincial election in February, regaining party status. Crombie, however, lost in the riding of Mississauga East Cooksville. Well, we had a chance to speak with her this morning about the meeting and hopes of getting a seat at Queen's Park.
We have a small but mighty team, and they're all an integral part of our caucus. So those conversations have not happened. But if one of them feels the need to resign, then I would take up that offer. But I haven't asked any of them. My priority is to get a seat, and I will. Things are different now. I spent the first year touring around the province so people could get to know me as a leader and my vision for the party. But now when the House is sitting, I'm in the legislature. We have our strategic meetings right ahead of question period, and I respond to the scrums. So people are seeing me more often on the nightly news.
The results of the leadership vote will be announced on Sunday afternoon.
It's 5:47, 21 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Starting Monday, Canada Post will no longer be delivering flyers. We'll tell you about this update next.
Well, it's day 2 on the picket line for Ontario College support staff, and the two sides, they appear to still be at an impasse.
The 10,000 full-time college support staff are seeking better wages, benefits, and job security. They include library technologists, facility workers, and staff in financial aid and registry offices. OPSU says 10,000 college and faculty staff have either been laid off or are projected to lose their jobs. The College Employer Council says the union's demands would expose colleges to more than $900 million in additional costs.
Well, the union representing Canada Post workers gave an update today on negotiations with the Crown Corporation.
The Canadian Union of Postal Workers is accusing Canada Post of abandoning negotiations and walking away from the table after the union's latest offer. CUPW says starting Monday, it will lift an overtime ban and instead implement a ban on commercial flyer delivery. The bargaining process has dragged on now for more than a year and a half.
Postal workers never wanted, and we told Minister Hadou that it was not necessary to have a vote. Instead, they went ahead with the vote, but members participated and told the employer exactly what they thought of the offers. And the results spoke for themselves. Almost 70% of members rejected these offers. Even the minister who forced the vote had to acknowledge that the union was right the entire time. Yet Canada Post management has learned nothing from 21 months of bargaining and the forced vote. They continue to stall. They're willing to drive business away, ignore chances to bring the business back, and destroy our public post office instead of building it up.
And Canada Post is responding, saying that the move is disappointing. A statement from the agency reads in part, quote, "This decision will impact the thousands of Canadian businesses that reach their customers with information and offers through the mail. It'll also impact Cup W represented employees who are paid to deliver flyers on top of their wages."
And turning to some sad news out of Hamilton, the general manager of the Hamilton Tiger Cats has died.
Ted Gavaya had been battling an aggressive form of cancer. The Burlington native was in his first season as Tiger Cats GM. And prior to his death, the team had already planned to honor his impact on Canadian football during tonight's game against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
It's going to be sad because I think there are, Ted was in his mid-50s. And I tweeted this morning, I said, this is in 34 plus years of sports reporting, this is one of the saddest things I've experienced, just because I think so many people were so happy for Ted to finally break through and get that general manager's post that he was seeking, and to be able to do it in Hamilton as a Burlington guy. It was just one of those stories that came together. So there's going to be a lot of sadness that there was so much going right in Ted Gavaya's life, before he was diagnosed with this illness this spring. And it just feels tragic, and frankly, it feels cruel. That's one of the emotions. But I think there's also going to be a great recognition of the guy he was.
Yeah, certainly will be a game to watch tonight as they remember him. It's 5:53, 21 degrees. This is Live at 5.
The Toronto Ukrainian Festival is kicking off this hour in Bloor West Village. We're going to take a look at what else is happening this weekend. Coming up next.
A big crowd is expected to converge on Bloor West Village this weekend for the annual Toronto Ukrainian Festival.
Let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan with what you need to know about the festival and also getting around transit this weekend. Melissa.
Hey, we're getting into about dinner time right now. It smells fantastic here. Lots of people lining up for some delicious food. Tatiana, tell me what your booth is called, what you're serving up here too.
Yes, so we're Barrel House Korchma. We're a Ukrainian restaurant in Etobicoke. We sell mainly traditional Ukrainian cuisine. We got some potato pancakes. We got some vareniki, sour cherry. We also have potato. We got sauerkraut over here. We got shashlik.
Okay, let's scoot down the line here. Pardon me, lots of people in line getting some delicious food. Oh, look at
shashlik.
that.
We got kubasa. We got all the good stuff here. Got some ribs.
Oh yeah. Oh, that is like a hearty meal you could pick up here. Yeah. Okay, so how many customers do you think you're going to be serving this weekend?
Oh boy, maybe like 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you've got some happy customers. I saw the long lineup already. Appreciate that. Okay, so just an idea of some of the delicious food you could check out here. Lots of music, lots of dancing. This is considered the biggest Ukrainian festival in all of North America. Some 900,000 people expected to turn out. Of course, all of this happening as we also think about overseas in Ukraine right now, a country under attack by Russia. We know that a lot of people from Ukraine in Toronto are going to be turning out here this weekend to celebrate their culture and, remember what's going on back home as well. So we are already seeing a crowd fill in here. This is along Bloor West, so it's from Jane all the way to Runnymede, just east of Runnymede. You can expect this action all weekend long. Of course, there are plenty of other activities you could check out this weekend as well, like Toronto Mexican Day celebration. That's going to be happening at Nathan Phillips Square all weekend long, Saturday and Sunday. The festival marking its 31st year. Lots of great food. It's considered Canada's largest Mexican fiesta, by the way. We do want to talk about GO Transit because it is such a busy weekend. This closure not coming at a great time. A section of Lakeshore West, it's going to be shut down Saturday and Sunday. There'll be no GO train service between the Oakville and Exhibition GO stations. That's Saturday, Sunday. Replacement buses, they're going to be running. They're going to be serving Oakville and Clarkson GO, and then directly they're going to run between Clarkson GO and Union Union Station. All that information on our website, CP24.com. Lady Gaga's in town, the Jays are in town, and the weather, Bakari and Sija, it's just going to be gorgeous. Going to toss it back to you.
Okay, reporting live, CP24's Melissa Duggan. Thanks a lot. It's 5:59, 21 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thanks so much for joining us this hour. CTV News at 6 is coming up next.